First, I will declare a national emergency at our southern border.
Welcome to Channel AMEC, your insight to the Australian visa system. Good day everyone, my name is Carl Young, your online beauty visa consultant. Are you interested in migrating to Australia? Why don't you consider to subscribe to my channel and turn on the bell on the side, so once all the updates and news, you'll be the first one getting all the insights. Alright, as you have seen, or perhaps you have been watching the TV for the last, I think it was almost like midnight, early in the morning, when the president of America, USA, Donald Trump, has sworn in and with the inauguration. Now, obviously the ceremony was huge with the freezing temperatures there. But also, the thing that I wanted to focus and bring your attention is the executive orders that Donald Trump had actually signed on the first day, and obviously regards to the immigration. Now, you may question, why are we talking about the U.S. policies? Now, you cannot, fade away or hid away that the fact the U.S. policies has tremendous effect, has global effect. Now, how will that actually affect Australia? We will see how that happens. But I would like to go through each of his executive orders on the matter of immigration and how that compare to what it's actually the policies in Australia, whether on policy side or geographical or geopolitical side, and also talking about the upcoming perhaps may changes in 2025 for Australia. So let's jump in there now. The first thing that you have saw at the beginning of my video, obviously it's the first thing that the Donald Trump had actually said, and has been welcomed with standing applause of all the audience at the venue. So let's just jump in there. And let's talk about this. So first thing that Trump said is declaring national emergency at southern border. Now we understand what's happening in US now. US is a continent that's been connected all throughout with Central and Latin and Southern America. So there has been, over the past, I don't know how many decades, probably half centuries, there has been illegal immigrants going across the border from South America, go to Central, and then Mexico, and then ultimately, pathway into Texas and USA, and that's how a lot of people actually gain their visas or residency in United States for the past decade or probably half century, I would say. Yes, it probably had begun just right after World War II. There has been so many I've heard since I was a child until today, and we have already seen that. So a national emergency closing the border, southern border, I think this is very important and actually welcome a standing applause by all the guests in the room. So this is one of the big things. Now, how will that actually affect Australia? Now, that Australia doesn't have that problem because Australia is technically it's a very large island. There is no other nation adjacent from the geographically on the land side, unless there's a Western Australia breaks away. But that's not going to happen from our lifetime anyway, or perhaps maybe, we don't know. But that's something that really doesn't relate to Australia. So let's jump into the next one there. The next one is clarifying the military role protecting territory integrity in the United States. Now this is also connected to the southern border as well, because there's a border on the land on the land. So having a military there is also required. Now compare this to Australia. Australia although there is no land border between Australia and other nations, but on the seaside, I think Australia is required to have more military forces and personnel in order to do that, because there has been traditionally there has been the refugees claim from boats, people coming from boats, people coming from Southeast Asia and all across Indian Ocean. So that has been the traditional what's been happening, but it's actually harder because going across the sea is very hard. It's very dangerous, and the death toll is usually much higher than going across the land side compared to what the adjacent border between United States and Mexico. So that's a difference there now. And reinstating remaining in Mexico and ending catch and release. So what had happened in the past in USA is that when the US officials catch those so-called illegal immigrants or illegal aliens that they don't call immigrant, they call alien by way, and also Constitution of Australia also call aliens as well. But anyhow, it's basically saying illegal entries of personnel coming into whatever the country that is. So in the past, once they catch, they don't really release. They actually put them into a more compared to Australia. It's much more relaxed situation where they release them not into community, but some sort of areas where unlike Australia. Australia put detention centers. That is more like jail. And also put in and also locate a lot of refugees into Christmas Island. Now that's a little island with all the refugees. So it's more like for Australia. That's why a lot of human rights conventions calling for Australia's detention center and things to be more humane. But again, this is an area where it's going to be debatable. So they're going to end that, and they will not release these illegal aliens or immigrants at the U.S. soil. So what they're going to do is they'll put them back into Mexico rather than having them stay in USA. So that's basically what this one is actually talking about. And the next one is talking about designating cartel as foreign terrorist organization. I think this is very good. I think Australia should really follow this, just to declare those drug laws and cartels as the terrorist group. So there is more law enforcement can be done because previously I know those AFP, Australian Federal Police, they know where the gang, criminal groups have been operating, but they just cannot. They don't have that international law enforcement to actually do something further, rather than just catching when the drugs coming into the border. So if they can name them as a terrorist organization, I think there will be a lot more. They're utilizing the Anti-Terrorist Act and the law there to actually include those drug laws or the cartels into the list. So there's actually a lot more law enforcement can be done there. I think this will be very good, and they will be citing Alien Enemy Act enacting that's 2 centuries ago. That's very interesting how they put things together. That's how, and they're gonna put this in force. I think this will be very good just to protect the soil of the USA. And also, we know a lot of people from the past 10 years. I've got client coming to me basically saying they have research done on US. It's basically a chaotic places over in USA, drugs, guns, and that makes them with the options to to choose elsewhere, and that's why they come to Australia. So well, would this actually affect the people wanting to migrate to Australia rather than going to USA? Well, probably a little bit, but I don't think this will be resolved in the short term. This is gonna be well, it's a war. It's a declaration of war between the U.S. government and those cartels. It's those gangs is huge, especially coming from Mexico. You probably have saw a lot of news on these ones. All right, ending the asylum to illegal. So incoming White House officials said that Trump administration is going to end asylum, close the border illegal via proclamation. Essentially, this means undocumented migrants caught between port and entry or of entry will not be able to claim asylum. So how would that actually compare to Australia? As I said, Australia is a large, very large island. It's actually very hard for you to board a vehicle, whether it's going to be airplane or a boat or ships, undocumented. That's not going to be happening because you won't be allowed to actually board any of the international routes without any IDs. So for Australia, it's actually very, very hard. It doesn't really apply to the scenario in Australia. However, that asylum claims, where they come from the boat, they probably don't even have ID. That's one of the things, and those kind of things that Australia has already addressed with the issue. There are several different categories of protection visas where those people coming with no IDs, it's treated differently compared to the normal, arrivals. Normal people arrive in Australia and claim asylum. So it's actually different approach. Now, not too sure. I'm not as expert on U.S. Immigration law, but probably they did not have that kind of mechanism. But they are putting that in force now. Suspending refugee resettlement. That's basically telling the UN saying, look, I understand there are refugees, especially from the Eastern Europe, Middle East, and elsewhere. We are not gonna resettle any of them for 4 months at least. So they wanted to, put their forces and focus on getting those illegal immigrants out of USA first, and then they'll resume the resettlement. So they still follow the human rights and refugee conventions on resettlement of actual refugee, how they identify the actual refugees. So that's a good thing. Okay. Now, ending the birthright. This is going to be a huge debate. That's where people go, travel. A pregnant woman travel to USA and have a birth of a child, despite whatever the country passport that the woman held. Straight away, the baby will be declared a citizen of USA. So that's what has been like that for many years, decades and centuries. Now they are gonna end that. Now that's gonna be a very big fight, and it's gonna go through the 14th Amendment. That's the actual constitution. So if you want to change the constitution, it's actually very hard. But I think the approach that Donald Trump's administration will do is that they will appoint some judges and to actually reinterpret the way of how the 14th Amendment actually means, because that was done centuries ago. Now, if they can interpret in the way how those, fathers of USA had designed it in a way to actually match the requirement and needs of the modern days, I think that's where the administration will actually do on that one. So it's not impossible, because I done a short form of video previously, that was last year. A lot of people commenting that's not possible. You can't. It's just too hard to change the constitution. I said no, not really. Everything's we have seen the first term of Trump's. A lot of things came in fruition. So this is second term. So a lot of things said. Look. First thing, Donald Trump is not a dumb person. He's actually quite smart. He won't say something or promise or coin out some ideas without having thoughts. And it's a president of the United States. So I don't think someone like that will actually say something knowing that it's impossible to be done. So he must already consulted and have a way legally to get it done before the words are out, right? You would agree with me on that one there. So anyway, whether or not he's going to do the reinterpretations or other ways, don't know. It's going to be interesting. Enhancing vetting, I think this is the thing that Australia need to do as well. Australia has been treating all people, all immigrants from different nations, they're trying to do equally, but vetting, it's interesting they use the word vetting rather than assessing. Assessing means you can assess everyone the same way. It's a standard procedures. But vetting is more about it's also assessing, evaluating, but also giving out a ranking of more qualified or more quality result. So I think this is something that Australia should really implement as well. And they already done that through the international education sector, where they put down risk level and things like that. But should they do that on other type of visas? I think they should. I think there's a hidden policy that are doing that, but it's not really clear enough. But anyway, this is something that's interesting that the US government will do in the upcoming administration. Creating Homeland Security task forces. Australia do have the Australian Border Forces, but obviously it's not as the personnel is just lack of personnel. That's all I can say. Australia is a large continent, a large island. The size of Australia is almost the same as the entire Europe or United States or China as well. And the personnel required, obviously, you're looking at the populations, it just needs more people there. Otherwise, you cannot really talk about really a homeland security. Looking into the numbers of military soldiers in Australia, it's just not enough. You cannot cover the entire Australia island, right? Anyway, but that to resolve this, you need more people. You need more immigrants. But they are now counter immigrants number now. But so anyway, this is another thing that we gotta another issue. Okay, the last but not least, restoring the death penalty when law enforcement officer is murder. So this really doesn't really apply to us. We haven't seen in Australia that somebody will actually murder. So illegal immigrant, they're talking about, probably happen a lot in USA. They're talking about illegal immigrant coming across the border and then kill the U.S. official, and then or trying to harm the U.S. officials and things like that. So if the official trying to stop those kind of criminal conducts by, for example, firing a gunshot on the person and perhaps kill that illegal immigrants. Now, at this point in time, the existing law saying that the U.S. official will then be charged as a murder. So if Donald Trump removed that, that means there will be a lot more legal or lawful conduct on those U.S. officials to actually, practice or conducting those secure safety border law by with forces. So that's basically what those executive orders are about the immigration matter. Now, last but not least, now this is more about Australia. How will that actually affect Australia? Obviously, the tighten and the restrictions of immigration policies in USA will actually bring a sweep of effect on Western nations. So again, that will affect the right-wing politician in Australia once they come in, whether or not they're going to restrict the number of permanent residency. But the stricter and the vetting process, so-called, will actually enhance the quality of immigrants in the coming future. And I think as a leader, global leader, USA, if they can actually adopt this format onwards, it's actually very good for the developed countries like Australia, New Zealand, Canada, and European countries. Then we'll end the chaotic things that we have seen in the past. That's the reason why Australia is trying to catch those ghost colleges, remember, because it's just a mess. They are people coming to Australia utilizing immigration system as a way to actually get more people coming in, ungenuinely, not genuine students, obviously, and to do something else. The same thing happening in US, and they go even further. They get illegal immigrants just come in the border and start working without work right or ID and things like that. And same thing happened in Canada as well, and same thing I believe happened in Europe as well. So all of this will become a large kind of trend towards the future. It's good for the developed country. Imagine if you reside in those countries and the new neighbors coming in are all good quality neighbors. Isn't that good? Anyway, should you have more question or query, more than welcome to leave comment right down below. And I'll see you next video. Goodbye.